friends, and welcome back to the channel. I'm so glad you could join me for today's late spring garden walk. I'm going to take you on a casual stroll so we can see everything that's blooming right now, right at the end of May as we step into June. If you're new here, I garden on half an acre right in the center of a large metropolitan city. We're going to start over here where the walkway from the back door ends and the chicken run begins. This rose is called Guirlande d'Amour, or Garland of Love. Bees absolutely love this rose. I'm thinking about maybe putting a trellis here someday over the walkway and arching it, but we're not there yet. It's such a baby rose, it has plenty of growing to do on the fence here. Here's a peek at my girls. I've got some lavender orpingtons, some buff orpingtons, black australorps, and Americanas in here. Now, clearly this is not a plant, but I wanted to show you this amazing hose rack I got. This is from Amazon. I'll link it below. It's a freestanding rack with 4 spikes at the bottom that help it stand up, and it's quite sturdy. And when you zip tie it to the fence like I've done, this thing is not going anywhere, and it's got 3 heavy hoses on it. There's a couple of roses that have been potted up. They're all different yellow varieties from David Austin. Brand new this year, and they'll be going in the back. Further down here by the entrance to the vegetable garden, I've got this rose and lavender hedge, and on either side of the arbor, we've got Vanessa Bell. And in this tour, you're going to see pests and you're going to see weeds. And one of the worst pests that I deal with as a rose grower is this sawfly. And I spray as minimally as possible and use as few things as I can, which means sometimes I just have to deal with the damage from some bugs. This rose is probably the most perfect yellow rose I can imagine existing. It is even more sumptuous and beautiful than I can capture here on screen. It's almost like that lemon gelato, that lemon ice, where it's yellow and then pales to cream on the edges. Oh, it's gorgeous. So I'm just showing you here some sawfly damage. You can see these dark streaks on the stems are where the adult has laid its eggs and they're about to hatch out in caterpillar form, which I do use BT to control the caterpillar larvae, but I would rather just cut out the damaged parts when it's reasonable to do so. So that's what I'm showing you here. It'll cost me a few blooms, but it's part of the trade-off. Behind the fence there's some calendula and a big mullein plant. In the front here, I've got lavender on either side of this rose, and it really needs to be weeded, and I need to take care of that stack of stepping stones. Those need to go into the garden. So I'm going to take care of that, and then I will show you the after. Okay, so now it's the next day, and I've moved that pile of stepping stones, and I've weeded all of this and re-edged it. And I actually ended up replacing a couple of the lavender plants. The one right here to the right of the garden gate was just all crushed, and I think something had been trying to get under the edge. So I put a little bit of hardware cloth there to prevent that from happening and replaced that English lavender with an elegance variety, ELLAGANCE. I'll put it on the screen. It's a much softer fronded looking variety, and I was curious about it, so I thought I'd try it. I got a couple of them and replaced a couple plants that just really were struggling. Oh, and the honeybee is really enjoying this English lavender. I've already harvested from these plants twice this year. They're really happy here. There's quite a bit of gravel in the soil here because we're right next to our driveway, and so it drains really well, which of course lavender just loves that. Now I'll back up here a little bit so you can get a better view of this area in front of my vegetable garden, which really I think is coming along nicely. It's starting to look delineated and cohesive, and I am enjoying the way it's all coming together. Oh, this clematis, I say clematis, but tell me what you say down in the comments if you say clematis or clematis. It's called Prince William. I believe it's a 2 or 3 year old plant. I think 3 years old. The color on this, look how beautiful these purples are. I've got a piece of curly willow there as a support for it to climb in addition to the fence, and it is a dead piece of willow. It won't take root. I think it looks lovely and will do a nice job of giving it something to grab onto. There is a great rose planted with this clematis, but she is not in bloom yet, so we will talk about her when she blooms. I love hearing that wren in the background. We have so many wrens this year and it just makes me so happy. So you can see I have alternating the English lavender and the elegance, and then more English lavender, the Vanessa Belle, and then on the other side alternating as well. It smells so good over here. Now, stepping into the garden is a plant that I wanted to highlight because I had no idea how beautiful garden sage, culinary sage, was when it bloomed. This plant, instead of throwing it out at the end of the year, because usually, in my understanding, sage is an annual in my Zone 6A garden, I left the sage in place in a pot, and it came back with a vengeance this year. It is huge and beautiful and blooming its little heart out, and its flowers look like little orchids almost. They're so pretty. And the bees are loving it. Yeah, if you haven't ever considered growing sage for the flowers, think about it. It's so beautiful and I think quite underrated. I really like to design my gardens in rooms of color, and this whole back section is purples and yellows, and the sage just fits right in with this scheme here. Speaking of yellows, this rose is the first David Austin rose that I ever bought for myself. She's almost 10 years old now, and she did not look like this the other day. I promise I did prune this rose in February when I pruned everybody else, but wow, it was such a jungle. I don't know what happened, but my gosh, there's a whole section that had fallen over and it was just a tangled mess. And in it was growing this morning glory, this wild morning glory, which I think some people also might call bindweed or know as bindweed, because see how it coils around the stems and just strangles the plant and drags it down, turns the whole thing into a giant snarl. So I spent several hours untangling and pruning and cleaning up this plant, and I think it looks so much better now. She may end up needing a support for that. You see that part to the left that's kind of arching. Apparently this is a climber. I didn't realize that it was, and it's starting to act like a pretty aggressive climber, so I think she is going to need some support, but I'll have to think about what I want to do for her. So yes, this is Teasing Georgia. She's my first David Austin, and she is absolutely stunning when she's in bloom. Right now she's just loaded with buds, and I can't wait to show you the absolute display she puts on every year. She's just like Old Faithful, so easy. Other than being kind of a monster, I don't feed this rose. I don't do anything with this rose other than prune it once a year and just let it be. But yeah, stay tuned to see what this girl does when these hundreds of blooms start to pop on her. Now jumping over to another garden, I've got this Siberian iris. I believe it's Siberian iris. It looks like Caesar's brother to me or something similar. And I say I believe because it was given to me by a neighbor who was dividing hers, and she has no idea what the variety is. But it's got this incredible dark purple color to it. It's so vibrant, so pretty. Fits right in with my purple and blue scheme. And here is a French hydrangea. This is brand new to me this year. In fact, I have never grown hydrangeas before, and I started growing them this year, and I've got a big surprise for you with a brand new garden that I can't wait to share with you guys. Now we're gonna go up the front walkway toward the front of the house, and I'm trying to zoom in on the archway here. This is one of the arches into the garden, and on the arch is a rose called White Dawn. It's so delicate and pretty against the backdrop of that weeping beech tree. And you can see this rose really well from inside, from the parlor. I've designed this side garden here with the intent of being able to look out from the parlor windows onto this rose garden / cottage garden. I pruned the heck out of this rose and trained it this spring, and she, I think, is going to reward me. We're going to go past the arbor right now and pause at this peony garden. This is the garden that I moved multiple peonies into last year because they just weren't happy where they had been located previously. And again, you can see this right at my parlor windows. And they seem so much happier in this location. I built supports for them this year out of pieces of bamboo and twine, and it seems to be working well. I've never tried it before, but I really didn't want to buy something more. I just, when I can, as you know if you've been here before, I try to use what I've got on hand, even if I could just go buy something else. And I like the bamboo supports. This one is called White Wings. It's a single peony. I have such a crush on this peony. I love it so much. And I think the other ones are Sarah Bernhardt. We'll have to see when they bloom. And coming down the front, oh, those begonias look so ridiculous, but I've had so little energy that the fact that I was able to get those in at all, I'm just happy there's something there. And they're annuals, you know, we can always change those up easily. Down the front of this garden fence is a hedge of 5 Queen of Sweden roses. These are pretty young. They were put in last year, so this is second year roses. But look at this beauty. Oh my gosh, the pink on this. It's just like ballerina princess pink. Here's my weeping beech tree. Just the sunlight was so lovely coming through those fronds that I wanted to show you how beautiful she is. She is such a great guardian for the front of our home. And there's that silly row of begonias. I do have a few more. Maybe I'll pop them in and give it a little bit more of a stagger. And you can see I've got some young bulblets of gladiolus coming up there. Those are white glads, and I may end up transplanting some of those a little later on. Now stepping into the garden, so through that archway, on the left here is this glorious specimen. This is an old rose. She is amazing. Désirée Parmentier. She is a Gallica. She is very old, pre-1848. They think much older than that, but they can be certain of the 1848 dating. This is probably the hottest colored rose in my collection, or one of the hottest. I love how dark she is in the center, and then she has these pom-pom shaped blooms, and they're proliferative on this rose. And I have to say, I may have underestimated how big she is. I might have to jig her up in the fall or early spring and move her out from that fence. I love the green eye on this rose. It's one of my favorite features on some of these old roses, is that beautiful green button eye. Peeking through the leaves to the fence behind her, you can see a rose called the Generous Gardener. That's a David Austin rose, and she hasn't bloomed yet, so we'll come back to her when she blossoms. But I just wanted to show you those beautiful buds. Next up, we have Madame Hardy, who is one of my absolute favorite roses of all time. She's another really early rose, and she also has that button eye, pure white blossoms, sweet little green eye in the center, thorny as all get out, but I'm willing to put up with it because she's just so beautiful. Right next to her, and a little bit entangled with her because it needs some support, is a rose called Albright and Rambler. This is a very pale pink rose, almost a slight apricot tint to it. I need to find a way to support this rose a little better, I think, and maybe even tie it to the fence or attach it to the fence. I'll have to see. The next rose is one that I really underestimated or undervalued, especially when you look at the bud shape and bud form on this rose. It's a Canadian rose called Morden Snow Beauty. Yeah, this rose, I think it's a repeat bloomer, and it's just has these open, soft flowers that are really different. One of my height features in this garden is a cherry tree called Craig's Crimson. This tree has struggled and struggled and struggled with aphids until this year where, touch wood, it looks almost untouched by any pests, and those cherries look kind of fabulous. Can't wait for those to be ripe. Another rose that's blooming right now is this baby. I put her in last year, called Sceptered Isle. She is another David Austin. Look at the yellow stamens in the center of that bright pink. So beautiful. And of course, with a young rose, you don't expect much in terms of bloom because you want them to get established and put their effort into the roots. So I'll probably prune off most of her buds. Crown Princess Margareta is absolutely, capital D, dependable as a bloomer. She blooms heavily every year, and I think she looks great against these apricot colored foxgloves, which heirloom foxgloves are easily in my top 3 favorite flowers ever, period, bar none. And these apricot beauty ones are just incredible. And they were volunteers. I haven't planted foxgloves of the apricot variety in the last at least 2 years. And yes, there are leaves everywhere. I need to rake, I need to weed. But you know what? I'm just grateful that I feel well enough to be out in my garden and doing this little tour for you and enjoying what's here, because it's been a very tough few months for me. And I'm not going to go into the details today, but I'm just really grateful for this moment where I'm feeling really good and have the energy to do this with you. So here's another shot of this apricot beauty foxglove with the ferns behind her. And she just goes up and up and up. These old varieties of foxgloves, the non-hybrids, are really tall, and that's what I personally love. I love when they're super tall. You can see why they're sometimes called fairy bells. They're just so magical. If you're wondering why at points I've muted this and just have music, it's because we're so close to the road here that it can get really loud, and I just don't want you to be disturbed by how intense the road noise can be at times. My returning visitors will be aware of that. Gosh, look at those colors. There is a clematis on this teepee next to it called America, but she's gone over now. She comes on very early. She was lovely this year, but she's done for the season. Unfortunately, I didn't capture, oh, here she is, the last of her. Unfortunately, I didn't capture her for you. I'm sorry. Hopefully next year we can get her. Here's some more foxglove. I believe I planted these with you last year. I know I ordered them from Bluestone Perennials because they're the pure white snow thimble heirloom variety, and they were worth it. I planted 3 small plants and I've already got 3 times as many. And I'm really hoping I can save seed from this plant and start them from seed to expand my foxglove collection. I would love to have hundreds of white foxgloves in my shade garden. I have a shade garden that I've had in my mind that I want to get started for years, and I am hoping that I can fill it with foxglove and hydrangea and lily of the valley and hostas, these deep greens and beautiful whites, and I think that these particular white foxgloves will look incredible in there. And just here's another angle of the foxgloves. You can see they are truly pure white. There's no veining or dark freckling in them. I like pretty much any foxglove, but there's just something special and ethereal about these. The last thing for today's video are these ivy geraniums. They're this beautiful shell pink color. I'm purposely being conservative with the camera here because I don't want to give away the project I'm working on right here. I just want to keep the camera in tight so you can see these flowers. The angle is toward the front of the house there. You can see the weeping beechway in the back. I love these geraniums that really tumble over the sides, and they're kind of hard to find, but I found these this year. I'm just delighted with them, and I hope that I can maybe even overwinter these this year. We'll see. I don't want to get my hopes up, but gosh, they're beautiful. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate all of your likes and your comments, and I hope you'll come back and see me again soon. In the meantime, enjoy your beautiful gardens and have a lovely week.